very lovely evening with you all. You know, it's dragging on a little bit, but this is the highlight of my week. So I hope.
Not into the IR.
Mine too.
Oh, there we go.
Oh my God, Leo, love you, Leo. Hope you know that, Leo. I love you. Leo, I need to figure out the room policy because I want you to see me just as much as I see you.
Okay, I'll just flip these around real quick. If anyone hasn't filled out and if we can focus up, we should be done very, very soon. If anyone hasn't filled out the feedback form, please do so. It's linked. You can scan that. And now we'll have our member of the week, which I think we have, which we will announce next week. We actually didn't. Pierce isn't here, but our exec liaison.
Our exec liaison is, but exec liaison did not make crown because Pierce was supposed to, but it's Simi. You guys are both working on that project together. You guys have had a lot of really interesting productive meetings with admin and relevant employees.
Okay, hello everyone. I'll make this really quick. So I met with Katie Bonner, have on a one-on-one. I met with Career Services for a project proposal, and we talked about PASS, which Drew asked about last week, and I did him. So that's it. I had funding steering assembly today, where we met with representatives from different funding boards. Had very interesting conversations. I got a lot of feedback, so that was fun. Next week, I'm having my one-on-one with Katie Bonner, SAC Super Exec, and then I'm meeting with Departments of Alumni Relationship, ? And we're gonna talk about the fundraising proposals and how it goes, but that's about it.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm super excited for the next 2 weeks. So upcoming meetings. I am having a meeting with the Vice Provost of Climate. Tomorrow the meeting is confidential due to just like things that we're going over. But now for like the main event of my report. Airport shuttle. Yay! So, okay. Hopefully, okay. Aiden, am I allowed to click on something?
Yeah.
Okay, so first things first is the airport shuttles sign up. So airport shuttles are on the 25th and the 26th. What? Oh.
Go to the 100%.
What? It's chill. I mean, there's like nothing filled out besides.
There's nothing filled out. I can.
Besides you and.
Yo, I did not.
So this is, so they have, okay, guys.
We can listen up real quick.
Hands are above the table.
Okay, so the first like slide here has the times, and you have to complete at least one shift. So the times on Tuesday are from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we have slots, or so I'll add actually 8 p.m. I'm sorry about that. We added 8 p.m. this year. And then 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the second day. So write your name in, and if you don't write your name in, that's like a detraction of attendance. So please sign up for shift. That's one thing you have to do. Yes.
What time should I get there for their shift? I shouldn't get there.
You should get there 15 minutes early before your shift, just to like get acquainted with everything, and also because you have to check people's tickets. So I'm gonna go over right now how you do a shift, and I'll go over it next week. Also, I'll let you DM. Yes.
What if you leave early?
I'm gonna get to this. That's,
The link is view only.
it's view only.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll fix that after the GDM. Yes.
To make it clear, can you just like make it 15 minutes earlier?
Yeah.
Yes, okay,
The link in the page, you guys can play your time slots.
yeah. Anyways, wait,
Especially
because my crosswalk.
Yeah, if we can listen up, please.
Guys.
If everyone could focus.
Please.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so how do you do an airport shuttle ticket? A shuttle's shift. You get there 15 minutes early. You're gonna get to the upper quad gate, and hopefully there'll be 3 of you. See, there's like. Okay. Then, there should be people like lined up there who are supposed to take the airport ticket. And you're supposed to check their tickets with your 2 other UA teammates. There should be online, you should check to make sure that they have their ticket, that they bought the ticket, and that they're there for the right time. And then you want to count how many people are there for our benefit, so we know like how many people who bought tickets actually showed up. And then they're gonna get on the shuttle, you see them off, make sure that they can get to their shuttle, and then you leave. It's pretty simple. Yes, so I will make the slots 15 minutes earlier, but yeah, you should be arriving there 15 minutes early. Okay, that's one thing you have to do. The next thing you have to do is you have to promote it. So this is everyone, and you have to share with 5 friends, check off the box, and you have to share with a listserv, and you have to specify which listserv you shared it with. And this is also worth an attendance point. So I'm just gonna also you have to share on social media and you have to repost. And I have something additional about that is gonna be worth prizes.
Oh.
May go ahead.
What do you mean by listserv?
Like
Me.
your group me, a group chat, like if you're in, like Aiden should be sharing a pendant, like all those things. Yes.
Is it one like sign up per person or do we have to do 2? Like
You can do as much as you want. We would love for you to do 2, but it's 1 sign up per person. That's good.
And also prioritize ones that have not been filled yet to.
Yeah, so make sure that like we're trying to fill in the gaps. Okay, so if we're sharing on social media, this means reposting our graphics, our reels this year, and I'm gonna get to that soon. And anything else we post, that's also where the details are gonna be checking that off. Okay, so we want more followers on the UA social media, and we also want increased interaction with airport shuttles. So if you get your friends to repost any airport shuttles content and follow the UA social media, that will be worth like a point. And whoever gets like the most friends to follow and repost, the first place, $30 Starbucks gift card, second place, $20, third place, $10. So all of you should be following and reposting airport shuttles tickets. Don't worry about it. and I want huge follower increases, and I want huge airport shuttles promotions. And I'll be over Thanksgiving break, I'm gonna count like the reposts, and we'll figure out how we're tracking that, but
Wait,
like-
I'm gonna add a tab right now that if you have someone followed on social media, you have to say which friend followed.
which friend followed and which friend, they have to follow and repost any airport shuttles. Cause we want those tickets sold and followers. Okay. Next order of business. If you slacked me already, good job. You texted me, wonderful. But if you're excused from your shift, like I will continue writing names up there. If you're like leaving early for Thanksgiving and you're not here. Okay. This is just for me.
No, wait, Joy, people have to fill out here the number of tickets.
Oh, yes, my bad. So I'll fill out how many sold, but then you're gonna have to count, as I said, in your shift. And if you see that there's people supposed to be there that aren't there, you're gonna say like the difference. So if 25 were sold and there's only 20 people there, you write 3 misses. And there's tabs for both days. So I have been working with the amazing comms team to talk about how we're gonna market these shuttles. So we are gonna be doing tabling. This is the tabling sign-up sheet. And we're gonna be tabling, I believe this is Wednesday, Thursday, and Monday.
Next.
And they're gonna be munchkins and hot chocolate on Locust. And we decided that in comms. And we're gonna be doing tabling at 8 times. And I really hope that we have like people that can sign up for these 30-minute time slots. And we're gonna be getting people sign up for tickets. We're gonna have QR codes, and we want to sell as many airport shuttle tickets as possible. It's also a wonderful name to like get the UA name out there, and also like hot chocolate and munchkins like before Thanksgiving. But okay, So that's one mode of marketing. The second is promotion. So tomorrow, Michael Bernhardt got me a shuttle, and we had so many people like say that they're excited to do the videos, and I'm super excited. So Tay and I and Comms came up with a few ideas. For promotion, we're gonna do like the house tour video. We're gonna do the welcome to the MTV crib. My newest idea, I don't know if any of you heard Tate McRae's sports car. We're gonna like parody the dance. Someone's gonna star. He's so
I
lovely.
didn't consent to any.
Amazingly volunteered to star. And then it Tate McRae's
mentioned it in
sports
these-
car.
No, I didn't.
Sports. It'll be like, you ain't got no misses, but you got an airport shuttle ticket. So super excited for that. Filming in the shuttle. Maybe we'll dress him up. I'm thinking of ideas. Yeah. But if you would love to join that, please do. And I'm super excited to do that as well. That's all for me. Thank you guys for listening. There were so many surprises in that report.
I wanna, before I start, I wanna quickly bring up that was brought to me by a member of the body, but I wanna highlight the importance of consent. Simon,
Yes,
consent
yes.
is very important.
I know, you said you did not consent, and so I said we should respect
No,
that.
you said my consent means nothing.
No, I know.
But yeah. How about this? I'm gonna make sure I'm quick with this, so I'm gonna set a timer for 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Okay, oh shit, actually I can't because I first have to welcome up Rafa and Khalil for a discussion paper. I can't believe it happened. I already told you what happened. I'll sing for you.
That's wrong. That's disrespectful. I'm okay. Okay.
So, hi everyone.
Yeah, so we're very excited to share with you guys a project that we have been thinking of throughout this whole semester, and we've been meeting with people, we're discussing, and we want to hear your opinions on it. And that's the International Student Representative.
So we know that the GM has already been launched, so try to be as efficient as possible. So the background of the project, basically, international students are really growing like community at Penn. We are already like 30%. Penn accepts every year 17% of their like new body of 15-17% of their new body are international students. And due to the like political situation, we know like it's been up a period as international students are the most like vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable communities here at Penn, due to a lot of like political changes, legal status, and anything can really change the international students' like life within like just a signature of someone.
And
So
yeah, and
yeah.
adding on to that, like historically, we've seen an increase in number of international students in UA. I mean, just 3 years ago, there was one international student in UA, like one, and now we have more than 10. So I think that's amazing. We see more engagement with very important branches like ISSS, ISAP, ISTAR, but there's quite literally no way to guarantee this is a continuing trend. We don't know 3 years from now, 4 years from now, will we go back to one student, no student? There's nothing to ensure that there was always going to be a person representing and advocating for international students. So
yeah, we believe that establishing this like representative would be a very like sustainable way to ensure international students are represented within the Penn students like body. So their responsibilities would mainly be first serving as permanent liaison between the UA, Penn Global, ISSS, ISTAR, and any other international students like created like councils. Second, advocate and address issues affecting international students, including social integration, immigration, campus inclusion, etc. And lastly, connect the UA in any like relevant university-wide advisory groups, including ISTAR.
and we want to look at some past or related issues to this. So in terms of international students representations, that hasn't been worked on before, but something we found similar is wage transfer rep. And the reason this is similar is this was a constitutional amendment by referendum in 2009. So this established the transfer student rep who represents transfer students. And then another thing is GAPSA, so Graduate and Professional Students Assembly. They're like UA, but for graduate students. They have an entire international student affair committee with a director. Like it's an entire committee. That's for international students. That would be amazing, but for now, I think NUA representative would suffice. And then for other universities, Cornell has an international student rep in their student government, and then Princeton.
They own like CAPSA version of it.
Yeah. So this is something that's been done in other universities.
Yes, so for possible solutions, we present like, we have two main solutions present like the product competitive solution. First, elected position by the student body, which requires constitutional amendments, following the Article 2, Paragraph 3. So the pros of like this seat would be kind of permanent because changing the constitution would take long and would be also very, very legitimate because students will be voting on who they represent them. Also, it would be hard to abolish or neglect this in the future, so we should ensure this position continuity at least for the next like generation or so. And lastly, the position will gain high visibility within Penn like administration itself, the international students community. So yeah, the cons of that process can be lengthy, complicated. So any referendum can take long and can be kind of like
We've seen historically that it's like a very that's
so second, if not communicated well, some students will push back and question why international students receive the constituency when other groups do not. And lastly, risk of low turnout.
Yeah, and then the other option is an internally elected position by the UA body. So this is something that I actually talked to Katie Bonner about this. So she was actually exploring this option. So we also wanted to present to you guys. The pros of this is in comparison to a constitutional amendment, it would be easier and faster. It would be within the UA body to the bylaws. And then it would be more flexible and adjustable. In the case that we would need any change or necessary thing, this would be much faster than having like a special election if the member stepped down. The cons, and there's a lot because we don't really like this option, but anyways, so because students don't directly vote for this role, it may be seen as less legitimate or democratic, but it's not involving the student body, and that's something that we want to do more as the UA, so this might be a con. And then the effectiveness of the role will heavily depend on the current UA culture and leadership, because it's just within the UA, right? And then the risk is there's a risk the position becomes symbolic if it is not clearly empowered, because again, it's not by the student body, it's not something legitimate or as seen as legitimate. And yeah, just generally, I know we put a lot of information in front of you guys. We just think that during this time, especially, international students are very vulnerable. They're impacted every day. I mean, just look at the compact 10% cap, right? That's something that happened out of nowhere. The H-1B 100K fee. Every single day, international students are faced by these issues and federal and university policies, and we just. And then here we have some questions that are like as guiders, but also this is to gauge your opinion on this, but also we want to answer you guys' question.
The general question first. Would this be a seat where some of the transfer students and not sure would only be allowed to run for this one seat? And do you not think it would risk like having less international students because only one seat is available for them? Whereas like now there's like me and Tan, like ZK and a bunch of probably other international elected members. Do you not think there's like some conflict here?
So that's a good question. We thought about it, but then we came to a realization. It's like you can still at your school, but you technically cannot run to two positions in the same election. But international is still part of their school, so they can run for that, or like part of like their like new student like population, they can run for that. But only international students can run for the national rep.
So the way I see it as well is that.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way I see it as well is, if we didn't have this position, right, if we, for example, say that like the schools, if we didn't have the schools, we would still have, for example, like a very even split of like college students running that set. But the fact that we have school specific ones ensures that we have school specific representation. In the same way that we have, college students running for college rep, we still have college students who are associate members. It's not going to limit anyone from running anywhere else. It's as much as it is guaranteeing that there is someone who is representing for this. If that makes sense.
So this is something that has been asked and kind of explored briefly in the past, and the concern kind of just came down to, and I still carry kind of same concern, is that this is essentially an identity-based seat. We don't do representation like that. If that's, like you said, like groups are going to ask, why do only international students get a seat? I understand, I completely agree there needs to be more representation. I do think we currently sit a lot right now, but it's also just like a selection issue. Or like thing, but in general, like I don't know, I have a little bit of hesitations with this. Also, even like logistically, this was some logistical questions, like how do you, even in voting, how do you like say indicate that you're an international student? Like I think it's comes down to your PIN card, and maybe this is a bigger question for later, but like still it's like, why does an international student versus another student of color after this, and there's a seat on the UA. Because right now we would literally just by school and then by transfer student.
That's fair. So I would say that that's a very fair point. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna sit here and be like one group deserves something and one something doesn't, because that's not my place, right? But for international students specifically, I would say that in addition to this being identified by experience and such, it's something that's defined by university and by federal policy and legally as well. Every international student has either an F1 or J1 visa or a passport. It's something that defines them like that, and that makes them directly influenced by these very factors. Like I mentioned with federal policy and like university policy, it's something that is not only about just identity, but also the fact that they're definitely tied to these very variable factors and everyday things that it's just tied to them. Like it's everyone, every international student has a visa, everyone has a passport. Do you have anything to add to that?
Just another aspect of international students, also undocumented students are also part of the students body. So just not on the F1
But that's a very valid concern, something that we're gonna definitely discuss as well.
Yeah, I just want to like echo Naya's statements. For the second is, I also think that there are also a lot of existing places within the university structure for international students to voice the concern. And secondly, like there is still the entire other platform of they can still run for a student body seat. Our elections are not really that competitive in the first place. And the second is also like I do fear really badly the slippery slope we go down if it's saying like now we're putting oppression Olympics into like who gets to have a seat on the UA, like do we establish a POC seat? Like it really just it has a pretty bad signaling effect in my opinion.
That's
ahead.
that's completely fair, and I get it, but I'll first like address the first part you said about there's other positions as well for international students in university structure, which is very fair. I would just say that as well as I saw on iStart, so I talked to AIS, ISAP, all these groups, right, and ISSS. Something that's been expressed a lot is something special about the UA is they directly interact with administrators, and that's something that's is for the UA as well. For groups like AIS, ISAP, all these different examples, there are more social groups, and the thing is, ISIS has repeatedly explained that although we have UA students sitting on IPR, right, there's possibilities for students, international students to be on UA and to advocate for these. Having the international student rep ensures that they do advocate for these. Something like I think everyone will know, Dr. Rudy, Dr. Vices has said that this is the first time in a while that we see UA students disengage in iStar, but we've had iStar reps all these past years. So it's so solely dependent on the students that it's not, we're not able to consistently rely on this because it's dependent on the students and not on the role that they're in, if that makes sense.
Just on our perspective, the argument is that also students need like someone to talk to if they have issues. Like for example, during like from February to like April, we've seen like all the visa removal. We didn't have any students to talk to, like we didn't have any leaders to talk to advocate on our behalf because UA doesn't have publicly like students like representative, but also ISAP, AIS don't do advocacy work with the administration. So yeah.
So I have some questions. I think that's a really cool idea, but I do want to ask. So you know how we have, you said there'll be like liaisons with like ISSS,
Yes.
ISTAR, all these things. Would you want that as in like they're one of the people who meet with them? Because I think it would be bad for them to be the only person who meets with them. Okay, that's good. But also, like, are you thinking like, you know how like transfer student rep, that's like someone who's like freshly transferred in. Would you think that it would be better rather than having all international students apply for this role? It could be like a freshman international student. But and also I would like to say, I think that it's not comparable to bring up the argument of international students versus POC because there's a lot of like complex identities within international students. So I understand what you guys mean, but I don't think it's a comparable argument, but I know what you're feeling. And also I do have to ask you, international students, as I've understood from Dr. Ha, some people have lived abroad their entire lives and have never, what would we constitute as an international student? Because we can't just say people who have certain visas, because I know people who've lived abroad their entire lives, their identity is completely international, but they do have American passports. So that's also something you have to be wary of. That makes sense?
So I started
Sorry.
with the first question, she's like, would they sit only breathe on one sitting on the like some seats? No, but they will be the one in charge of those seats. It will be like kind of the head of delegation.
That's as well, it's more so the group as well, but it's more so ensuring that we're not there that's engaged. It's amazing to have more people, but that's like 100%, they're elected for that. That's their responsibility.
Yes, for your third question, she's the one about like people who are living abroad. Honestly, this the role is more about like the legal policy advocacy for international students that does not concern people with having American passports, having F1, J1, or any other type of visa or being undocumented in US universities way different legally than like being like American students. So as like rest would be more about that, but also like the cultural slash social initiative like the mentorship program or anything, those students also considered international.
And then just very briefly, this is something I want to tell all of you as well. So when we talked about the constitutional amendment, this is the point you brought up. So the way it's structured, it's UA, there's elected positions from 5 constituency group, and it names the colleges and then new students, and within brackets, there's transfer and then freshmen. So another option in addition to add, as opposed to adding a 6 constituency group, it's putting it within the bracket of new students. So that would be international freshmen, if that makes sense. I will just go for this, John.
So I agree that like students should of course have consistent representation on UA, warehouse, student government. On one of the statistics you mentioned before, you said the international student representation in UA went from 1 to 10 people. Do you know what prompted that? Was it interest? Was it
So I
sort of
was.
factor? And I have another follow-up based on
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can, sure, it's more so like to answer that, this is honestly just something I took from the past iTalk slides, which is from iStar, because we were talking about how there's increased representation and that could be used for any other rep. There's not necessarily why, but I think it was more so stated to show that it's something very variable. It's not something that's structurally constrained in the sense that we will always have someone advocate for international students. Just like look at that, you know, but that's fair.
Okay, so it's an upward trend. I see that, and
Yeah.
yeah, for now that could change, of course. I mean, I'm going to assume that it will continue to be considerable, given especially policy governing,
Hopefully.
you know, national universities here regarding international students, whatnot. But I just don't fully see. I mean, I think a role like that is useful for collaborating with these other groups. But as we're already positioned in the UA to collaborate with groups like that in a dedicated position, doesn't change much if the general popularity of or interest of international students or just the general outcome of international students being involved with UA fluctuates. It's one role doesn't seem to, one guaranteed position every session doesn't seem to hold a lot of ground rather than just a general trend of people involved.
I completely understand your point. And the thing is, yes, we're seeing an upward trend right now, maybe yes, with the increased policy, but again, we don't know why. And the fact that we don't know why means it's variable. I mean, just on the other flip side, right, you're saying there's more changes in policy and that. I'll give you something that's happened last year when the whole like resolution for the disclosure happened. A lot of international students didn't want to sign on their name because they fear the same thing that's pushing them to join UA. Yeah, the policy pushes us to advocate for it, but at the same time, policy may push us not to want to be visible. It's something that's a double-edged sword. It's something that will make it variable. At the end of the day, no matter what trend we're seeing, if we don't have something that structurally ensures that someone is there, you can never say that 100% there will be international students who are advocating for international students in UA. If that.
Actually, I'm gonna pass this over to Drew.
Hey, yeah, I'm gonna add on to, I guess, I had a conversation in August, early August with Naya and Musa and Mackenzie. So to clarify why like transfers had a seat, Mackenzie gave the explanation is because there's it's a case of fairness during election season, because from what he wrote specifically was that transfer students, if they were to run for a new student representative, they are at a disadvantaged position because they don't live with first years. They don't attend first year orientation. They don't interact with first years as much. So it would be difficult for them to receive seat. And that was his justification to sort of maintain the ground. And I feel like, I guess based on my conversations with like Exec and Mackenzie, it's just, this is completely different case.
Oh, that's completely fair.
Yeah, it's no longer about equity and fairness, more about like a sustainable like presentation of like this population.
Yeah.
Yes.
But thank you for providing that context. It's very necessary. I think it was more so showing that like this is how it was done. It was a constitutional.
Yeah, it's just that I think you would have a much harder.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah, that's. Yeah, go, oh, sorry.
You probably have to deal with the QI field guys.
Okay, sounds.
Okay, I have a couple thoughts. First, I like holistically agree that we should have people work, like we should have representation from the international student population. But I think there are a couple complications with this, and this is kind of tying a bit into the work that I've had to do specifically over the summer, which is when we've run into an issue with all these visas. I think it is quite unfair to essentially hand this to one student, because that's kind of what had to happen to me, where I was getting like 30, like I was working with like 30 plus international students and having to try to work through like
legal aid, international, like immigration lawyers, right? Like, because there's so many complications to this, right? That I think like, if you make one designated student, like the international student representative, right? They all of a sudden become like the go-to person for all things immigration issue, right? And that's kind of like not necessarily something you sign up for, right? Especially because it's like very like volatile, right? Like this summer was an exception that like.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane this summer, right? But we can't say that that won't ever happen again.
Mhm.
And then I think secondly, kind of going to the point on who we classify as international students. Yes, it's defined by like if you have a F1, J1 or H1 visa, but also ISSS specifically for me has never been able to tell me if I'm an international student or not.
Yeah.
I ask someone, they tell me I'm an international student because I've lived like abroad my entire life, or I'm not because I have a US citizen.
Yeah.
So like I have no idea what I am,
That's
right? Identity crisis. So and also your point to like you don't like international students don't want to sign on to things, right? I think that is even more so can be the case in something where it's having to deal with multiple like immigration issues,
Mhm.
like ISSS, all of that, because there is an actual risk, right? Part of the reason why I felt okay to a degree over the summer, like being able to work with many international students, was because I knew I had US citizenship.
Yeah.
Right? If I was an international student, like fully like was on a visa, I would like take my name completely off of that, because if I'm seen like working to try to get people into the country when the government is saying you shouldn't be in the country, like that's a whole other issue that I don't think that we should be handing this necessarily to one student without a lot more thought and a lot more work with administration on essentially like autonomy and like transparency. So where this student isn't gonna be at fault if someone's visa gets denied. This student isn't gonna be at fault if a student is deported, because that's sadly the reality we're living in. So I think that's something that we really do need to consider.
Those are like very bad thoughts. So just I think with the first one about having someone may have like whole like kind of responsibility and like the mass of people. First, to clarify, national students presidency would not be like in charge of any like immigration / individual questions, because we are not allowed to do that as students.
It's similar to legal services.
Yes, exactly.
in a sense.
So like there will be liaison between the students and ISS if needed, and like you know that ISS is very like delicate with like students' information, and they would not allow anyone taking like giving advice. Especially like what happened in the literature program where they specified no immigration advice. But also like when having someone who signed up for responsibility would be able to take that like volume because they signed up for that. They're the ones who say like voluntarily up to that experience. Second point about like I like the whole like definition. Honestly, there's lots of definitions of like international students. Legally, it's just people who have hold visas.
Figured out by eyes, like I feel
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just
yeah.
take whatever they
It's
give.
probably
Yeah.
like, cause that was something when I was working on the mentorship program, what we define it, but that's definitely something that would come later on as
Yeah.
well with how we define it, but that's very valid concern that I'll like definitely.
So and lastly about the name and everything like as they will not be working on any immigration like sense working more about inter-school advocacy. The risk would be minimal for them. First, second, maybe like I guess lots of like awareness about the chair themselves, like the position themselves, how would they deal with it, and how would like ensure their security, because we don't want anyone to get in trouble with like their immigration status. That's like the worst thing that can happen to international students. And also like
No.
yeah. So and also like wait, I lost the thought, thank you.
I think then like we really, again, I really think that we should have this.
Mhm.
I think we need to make sure like when we're marketing, like, hey, there's this new seat open,
Be
that
very
it's, hey, this
specific
is
about
for
them.
inter-school, like advocacy.
Being a
I would
liaison,
want to get
basically.
advocacy out of the word, like inter-school, like dialogue and mediation.
Being a liaison, being
Exactly,
responsible,
yes.
like just, yeah, 100%, no, you're right. Go ahead, oh, thank you. Yeah.
Let's go ahead, go first.
It's taken.
Whatever, guys, deal with it.
Wait, this is similar to Simon. Obviously, I would be for any kind of like increase or sustained representation of international students. I'm really happy that there's
so many international students in the UA, especially this year. But my question was something along the lines of like, if we have just one dedicated person as this international rep, what happens to all the other students that are international on the UA? And like, how can we ensure that they're also empowered to like represent international students, to like seek out projects or like recognition for international students, even if they're not like elected or appointed into that position? And also, if it's one person, depending on how we figure out like if they're appointed or elected, like things happen, and sometimes if it's just like the responsibilities on one person, if they don't kind of rise to that responsibility, then nothing happens, and there's like even more limited representation. I think that's just something to be wary about. There was something else, but I'm
Yeah. No, I completely get your point. I think the answer would be kind of similar to Miriam's point about iStar. So in the same sense that the rep would be in charge, like they would have to be on iStar, there's still availability for other students as well if they want to. And that's kind of where it comes from. The rep wouldn't be a limitation of international students' concerns being to one person. It's more so being guaranteed to that person, but that doesn't limit any other students who want to show an initiative to do so. Like, I think we have amazing international student projects right now, and that's kind of something that also motivated doing this, because we're seeing this amazing thing and we want it to be sustained. So at the end of the day, when we have a rep, when we have someone who's guaranteed to advocate for those students, that's guaranteed. That doesn't mean that we don't want more students to do that on their own initiative. In that sense, we can have international students advocating for the whole student body, for just international students, for something pertaining to not just international students and others, but having that guarantee quite literally just means that we're gonna have at least someone. It's at least thing, not only.
And just after that, it's more about channeling the responsibility to like one position and like having someone charge of those, but it doesn't mean like it's exclusive to other people to happen those.
Yeah.
Like just like we want to make sure that someone's taking care of that. If it is more than one person, it will be way nicer. If it's just one person, it's all like nice enough.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love to have like a committee like CAPSA, but I think that's later on.
Yes.
And the second thing I wanted to say was, I think there definitely is value in having like the whole of CAB represented at ISSS meetings, like the whole of UA in support of international student needs. And like we've been talking about how international students are in a particularly vulnerable position. Like we don't want to risk our immigration status if we advocate too much. So I think having American students on the UA also vouch for us, that's important. Yeah, and I think in a way having a rep as well with not just advocacy for international students to admin, it's also advocating international students within UA as well. So that's a completely valid point that I think.
Just like in hypothetical like scenario in 2034, like the UA would not give a damn like about that student. Like how would that be? Like, and they like huge political change. Like that's like how ensuring that there's someone still standing for international students. Shouldn't be correct.
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, is like one of the main reasons you guys want to do this because you want somebody focused on the UA for like supporting international students? Am I right on that?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Is like one of the main reasons that you guys want to do this, just so you guys can have like a representative that's focused on the needs of international students?
Yeah, in a way, just ensuring that and guaranteeing that it's sustained.
So my question to you would be, like, if international students can vote in the general elections, if there was somebody running that was international or wanted to focus on developing policy for international students, they could just run their campaign with that focus, with that message. And the international students that are voting and are able to vote in the general elections can vote for that representative. I think by like setting aside the seat, we are essentially like taking away a bit of the voice of voters and taking away the say in the sense that we're basically saying that, hey, this is important and like this is set in stone as something we think is important, taking away choice from voters. Right now, the way the system works, those international students have the choice to vote for a representative that will develop that type of policy. And I think this is just detracting from that choice that voters have.
That's fair. Then my question would be, Janae, how can we guarantee that someone will run to represent for international students' issues? How can we guarantee that?
I think if we're trying to get more people to run, I mean, it comes down to the type of stuff that I think Naya was saying exec did at the beginning of the year, like coffee chats and that, like that's a whole nother, I think that's a separate issue. Like, we could obviously market the UA better and try to get more people, so that's sweet.
Just to respond on that, international students by numbers are minority on campus. They're on 60%. I don't think if there's like someone just turning international students would get the votes, like in like statistically speaking, it's not feasible. Like they are a minority that can be outvoted way easy like than we think it is.
But still, it would always be great, like same point as Taya, if there's someone who's running their campaign to have advocate for half-foods, but that the same thing, we can't guarantee that every year. You can't guarantee that they get elected.
That'd be good.
Back to Tia's point before about, what has the UA like done to codify protective like measures for international students? I know like marketing, like that or Alpha's point is like helpful, but it's like not enough. Basically something that's protective for international students to keep, although it's a growing trend, it's clearly like because of the new administration, it's very much a scary time. And to ask that question, is this like really out of a protective measure done from this administration? Like what, do you know why this wasn't proposed before over the years or?
I would guess mainly because the political status was more stable. Like we didn't see any like variation in migration laws. Like the last 6 months has been like a help for all international students with all nationalities. Like it's been like very complicated, very difficult, and a lot of things are changing. A lot of things are different. And honestly, I go to where that there is no student that's there to advocate for me. I said alone are not enough. That they are like a very small team serving for thousands of students as faculty and.
Oh, I blanked out. Oh, no. Also, I would say that that's a very valid point. Yes, with all the changes in the migration environment, yes, we see that there's more issues. I think it's less so new issues being formed as much as it is shining visibility on a lack of structures available for us to be supporting those issues.
So then besides this role, what else can the UA do to protect international student voices that might not be so controversial? Like adding a new seat, like what are things like free codifier added to protect students reps?
I think with all honesty, a lot is being done already right now, like whether like even things like, for example, the USML on the compact, that's being protected international students, or like legal services, working with ISSS. This is what I was saying with the fact that there are individual students showing initiative to support international students. But that's the thing, it's students. It's the will of each individual person, not something that's structurally within UA. But there's definitely things being done by individuals right now in this room that.
Of course, it's just more so the idea agrees with me because we're next year, the new administration is not the same opinion or same views.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? It's not written signing a law into new bylaws.
Or like, for example, 1 year that president was like, oh, we don't need any more international students. Like, how do you budget to react to? Like, we need to have like some channel like communication, like between students and the administration within that. So.
Before the next person, I just wanna say I would appreciate if we don't like go back and forth. We can continue this discussion. I didn't put a cap on it. Things can be moved to different discussion. We can move it to new business, move to Slack. Those are options. There's no cap on it right now, but I know it is 10:30 at the moment.
Can I make a motion to cap this?
You could do that.
Move to cap the discussion.
What?
Second.
Or at, let's say like 5 more minutes.
Just before like we go on to next question, the point of this was the fact that we want to gauge your opinions before going on to any further.
So we just have to entertain the motion.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, my bad.
Was there a second? Second, and all those elected members in favor, 5 minute cap. Any opposed? Okay, that motion clearly passes. We have 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, so just to clarify, we're asking questions right now just to gauge your opinion, so if we want to move on to next steps as well, like whether referring back to Katie or even saying with.
Okay, so I don't want to talk about feasibility anymore. I think we not exhausted it, but I think that we should like look at what they're saying and actually
Yeah.
ask them like, so they can work on it, right? So I do wonder, so you know the point whether they should be voted by the student body or
Yes.
voted internally, 'cause I think we're forgetting about the internal voting bit. I think there's like one issue with voting by the student body is because of how international students are classified. And because ISSS and admissions have different lists of who counts as international depending on either where they live or passport. Which I know that you're saying it's like the J1 F1 visa, but that's like just a point to consider, like who can vote for this. Then, yeah.
Yeah, we've been like doing that part a lot, and like we've been trying to find like way to go through it, but my opinion is let's go with like the ISS definition, because admission definitions is not on legal basis, but however ISS is more on legal basis.
Also, we will open this discussion, like with, if we were to meet with ISIS, and we probably will, we're gonna open that discussion with them and with all the people who are involved.
This is more of a logistical question. It's kind of going back to the base point, so. Like the way you envision it right now, would international students have an option of whether they want to run as an international rep or a new, like, let's say they were a new student or a new student rep?
Yes.
Or would, okay, so they would have an option.
Yes, exactly.
Because I feel like kind of going back to the point, there's a different voting pool for each of those positions. I mean, if you're gonna run for a new student rep, obviously you have your entire class, but if you're running strictly as an international student, you're only gonna have international students voting for that position. But there could also be cases where international students who want to serve on the UA may not want to prioritize, I guess, international advocacy. But I know that that's like a big point of contention for your proposal here, is that the international representative is working in favor for international students. But in the event that they want to run for a new student rep, I feel like they would also be disadvantaged because there's also an entirely other position that they may not want to run for. That's also easier to.
That's totally fair. Like your point is valid. Like they have both options, and like if they want to run for the new students rep, they will like take responsibility on like campaigning for new student a platform. However, if are running for international students, they would have like the national student advocacy platform to campaign on. That will depend on like person's choices, and I don't think that would be like a marginalizing point to like international students.
That's fair. And then also at the same time, when international students are voting for international student rep, the international student rep will have to campaign in a way where where he or she or they are advocating for international students' concerns. So that should probably be also an indicator about their interest. That is a completely valid point, though, that I think we should also discuss as well. Like,
any more questions, thoughts? Yes,
So it sounds to me like there's sort of like these two conflicts of, we want to make sure that there's never an instance where there's like no international students like that are like representing international voices, but also people are concerned about like whether it's like a fair like system to like have this spot reserved.
yes.
So I'm curious what you would think about if there were to be some sort of like diversity bylaw that said that in an instance where the assembly is lacking of a certain like protected identity, for example, international students, then we would appoint someone or we would arrange an election. So like in an instance like this where we have, I think the number of international students, it would not be activated. But if there were to be an instance where there was no international students, or maybe where there was no some other identity, then the UA would arrange either to have like a special election or appointment, either to an associate member or to an elected member.
Yeah.
I would see this as like less invasive
Yeah.
than just having a protected seat every year, but also it prevents this like scenario that I think you guys are worried about of there being like a year where there's just no international
Yeah,
students.
no, that's that would be a great option. I think you have that option. My only concern in that case would be like, again, it's very dependent on who's in the UA at that time, right? Like whether they invoke it or not, but that.
It could also be required, but that's just like sort of another.
Yeah, that's fair. No. I think that's a great option. We will definitely write that down, like all.
We have 45 seconds.
I'll probably bring it up during DH2 tomorrow.
My only concern is like both options ruin the democratic process of like who's elected and the diversity, like if we start electing people based on identity and like talking about like who's represented, and you're saying like the international student population is underrepresented, so are a lot of populations of it. And also like if we appoint someone that even like, why are we appointing just an international student? Should we be purchased like appointing, maybe like if there's no people of color, like we should be appointing someone like that. It's a slippery slope of that, I feel, and kind of messes with the democratic process of how we're all elected to represent the student body.
That's a similar question to Nalia's. Can we just answer this real quick, like 30 seconds?
No, I just, you can text me.
Yeah, we have hit 5 minutes. If someone wants to move
Motion to extend by 30 seconds.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Second. All those elected members in favor?
Guys, it's 30
any
seconds.
elected members opposed? Okay, the most clear
30
message.
seconds, dude.
We just already.
We're gonna do it 30
30
seconds.
seconds.
We're gonna do it 30
Starting now. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is similar to Nana's question. I think in the same sense that we answered, it's not just about experience and identity, it's also the fact that they are like very defined by federal and legal laws, and then they're affected by those as well in terms of policy, and then you want to add on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not like saying that the issues are more important for stuff like that, but we're saying that the difference legally is way different. Anything else, any like other population aspect, and like we can go through that in depth, like how legally it's different.
Yeah,
how-
exactly. Like just
that-
every- that's it.
I'm sorry, that is clear.
Thank you. And yeah, if you guys any have suggestions, please just like Slack us or text.
Holy guacamole. Alright, stay with me here. 30 seconds as well. Let's see if I can do this in 30 seconds.
I can time it for
No,
you.
I'm okay, Mr. Speaker. Okay, so quickly going through, I had my UC meeting where we talked about graduate housing and bike safety. Have any questions? Please raise your hand now. Awesome. Next, upcoming CES DHD collab, be terrified. Columbia U Chicago outreach. I'm having one-on-ones with Michael Scales, Courtney Dombrowski, and the VP of Frez, Papa George, all on the week of the 24th. Project update, shout out to Tanisha for successfully launching the awesome stuff. I have 3 seconds. Okay, everyone's cooking. And DHT, you'll have updated project proposals due to me by November 30th. Bye. My man of my word.
Alexa, do you have just the upcoming?
Upcoming UC meeting, talk about it.
No DHT mention.
Team meeting tomorrow.
Taya?
I think the main thing is what Julia was saying about airport shuttles, so I'll just reiterate. Please sign up for your slot 8 to like be in airport shuttles like leading up to Thanksgiving, but also sign up for a tabling slot. We have a lot of time slots, but this is something that we really need to push. So Wednesday, Thursday, and next Monday, please sign up for like at least 1 or 2. We really need your guys' help. There's gonna be hot chocolate and munchkins, so hopefully we get lots of people.
Can you send the link in the Slack, please?
Yes, and you'll also be in my email. Yes, she'll email it with the minutes. The rest you guys can read, but I will just emphasize, we're making posts introducing the AMs and EMs. So if you haven't sent your headshot to Minna, please do, so we can include you in the post. Thank you.
So we do have a document here. We're now in new business portion. So the formal way that we should go about this is by a motion to enact this document. So if we have any motions on the floor, this is not to go over the merits of the document, but it's simply to enact the document so we can review it. Would anyone like to move?
Motion to enact.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those elected members in favor of enacting this document? Any opposed? So we have enacted this document. This is a bylaw amendment, so just for point of information, bylaw amendments need to be presented. And then they can be voted on once they have been presented at a following GBM. So you can present this. We'll hopefully keep it brief, and then again, we can ask questions and debate this at the following GBM when it is actually voted.
Wait, to clarify, point of inquiry.
Yes.
We can't ask questions now.
We can ask questions if people would like to ask questions.
I'll keep this super brief. I really only wanted to talk about the first one. The other ones are ideas in case you guys wanted to like read and take a look. But the main idea behind the first one is that we have numerous times this semester like removed people for attendance purposes under like the bylaws, and then we have a lengthy 30-minute discussion and we bring them back in. And I think it's like, I don't think it's a good use of time. I don't think it's like a good way to like approach each other in committee. I think it's like not like healthy, not nice even to like be going through this process over and over again. So my amendment to like bylaw 5C, which discusses this process, is to invert the process. So it's rather than you remove someone for attendance and then you can vote them back in, it's that once someone has failed attendance, you must vote to remove them. So what this would mean would be that in cases where someone fails the attendance, they're like there could be people that motion like, hey, motion to remove this person, But if this motion is not made, then committee will just move on as normal and their absences will be reduced by 1 until the next, until the next time they fail this requirement. And the idea behind this is that people won't be removed without good reason. Like if the assembly is basically tired of people continually not being here and not being present, then they very much have the same power to remove them. But we're not going through this process of like removing people and then having to reinstate them. So it kind of flips the onus. So it biases towards not removing rather than removing. Any questions, thoughts? David?
I guess then what do we do? Actually, do you mind going on to someone else? I want to make sure I word this properly.
Yeah, sure. So
Wait, 2 points. First is that like there's people who missed the attendance requirement and would still have to have the discussion on them. It seems as though this is flipping the discussion rather than like positively talking about the contributions to the UA instead of like advocating for the bad things about the person. So then I fear that this is not like solving the problem of like removing an individual from the UA. It's just like the way in which you discuss them now has a more negative interpretation around them because we're trying to advocate for their removal rather than advocating for their for them to be here. The second thing I want to point out is also like there's a lot of people who like fill attendance and also don't choose to like try it again in GBM. I'm like this will just make that process a lot more complicated because there's a lot of people who just like happen to not want to get committed to the UA and like logistically it's a bit of a nightmare.
okay. Do you want me to like comment on this or just sort of thoughts you want to share with you?
Up to you.
I mean, I would just maybe take in feedback now because we're not debating it at the moment.
Okay, yeah, then I'll like take that as feedback, yeah.
I kind of do want to resonate some of that, especially with Musab's latter point about it, like, like a situation in which we have to directly vote to remove them, like, that would mean by proxy, this person doesn't even necessarily need to come in to contest, like, the selection over their membership. So I do kind of see a worry kind of being present in that, like, like we could have some people that just don't end up getting removed, even if they like, don't show up to meetings like ever. If they're like popular enough, let's say, for example, like, former members of exec who decide not to come to meetings anymore, but because they're well known by the body are simply kept on, even though they might not contribute a lot to the UA. But yeah, that's about a thought.
Yeah.
Leo?
Oh, sure. I just wanted to say I appreciate the spirit of this amendment particularly. I would kind of voice the thought, maybe in similarity to Musab and De Silva, that like, if the body has to do something to remove a member, I think that there's 2 outcomes. 1, nobody gets removed and then attendance is not real. Or 2, it maybe possibly could feel like a meaner process. Because now it's like, oh, we're like specifically taking action as a group to remove this person, but maybe we haven't for others, That's just, a thought I have, but I appreciate the question.
I think the idea of like streamlining the process of how we do those votes is valid, but I agree that this is probably not the way to go about it because I do remember last year there were multiple people that just did not contest it, and this would like take up time for those people that aren't showing up either way, and B, voting to remove someone, we are still gonna have the same discussion. Like it's not like we're like saving time, and it does seem to be more like mean. To an extent, I think that there does have to be something done, and maybe you could like adjust your amendment to fit this. Where we spend like half an hour discussing this, and we bring in the person, and then they have to like write up this letter and go to like each great extent, and it takes up half an hour of time from the entire assembly. So that's like 30 minutes times how many ever people are in here, and that's really valuable time. I think we can reduce that process and make it more streamlined. Maybe if that's what you want to get out of your amendment.
Wait, sorry, could you clarify, what do you mean by like, to reduce what process and make it more streamlined?
Like the process of the person writing the letter, and then we discuss for like 10-15 minutes. And then we have the whole vote on it. It takes up about half an hour. It takes quite a bit of time. Maybe we can streamline that. That might be like a better way to take this.
Okay. Any other sort of comments, questions, thoughts? Oh, yeah.
I like the sentiment of the amendment, but I think what needs to change is the process of reinstating somebody. So instead of, having someone move, to have someone like removed from the UA, which I doubt would ever happen in this case, I just feel like no one would ever wanna do that to anybody. Maybe just changing the process of someone being reinstated, maybe even like minimizing the population that this information is even released to, just having like maybe CAB or exec discuss something like this and not the whole UA body.
One comment on that, I would say, I think we would probably see more removals if it was like not voted on by the body. Just like speaking to like.
That's not.
That's. You're wrong. Yeah, you're wrong.
I think that like a lot of what I'm hearing is that this is like kind of like already just similar to what we do, but like and maybe like is either deterring people from being removed or is like similarly time wasting. I guess on the former, like, no, I would say that like if people are hesitant to remove elected members of assembly, then like that's fine and that's a valid reason for them not to be removed because they are elected by the body, and so there should be like significant deliberation taken before they are removed, even though they were elected to that position. Secondly, if part of the concern is that this is like more time consuming, I think I could see this being amended or like edited in a way such as only people who contest their removal go through this procedure, and then it would almost be a semantical difference of rather than someone being removed and then brought on like trial to be brought back in. Instead, if they were removed and then they contested their removal, this happened prior to removal. So like it would take such a vote in order to remove them from it, only in cases where they contested, and then also the vote is a little bit more favorable to them. Rather than needing 2/3 majority to stay in, they would only need 1/3 because they would need 2/3 to be removed. Those are my sort of general thoughts. I also want to be like cognizant of your guys' time. Both of you guys are like in your rooms asleep by 11, so I'll like, maybe that's optimistic, but I'll like table this now. If any guys have any thoughts, please come and let me know. Otherwise, I'll like try to adopt some of your feedback and bring it back next Sunday.
Thank you.
Oh. Okay, any other topics for new business? No, okay, real quick. Shaughnessy has a few quick updates. It'll be like 30 seconds here, or not. It doesn't update. There we go.
First off, we're having Friendsgiving this Wednesday. But the importance of a potluck is that we have food, so we ask that everyone brings a dish of some sort. There's a spreadsheet that splits like mains, desserts, sides, whatever you can bring, just fill it out. That's this Wednesday. It'll be in the Sofer second floor lounge.
Yeah.
So,
And this is like a UA tradition, so it'd be really great if you guys could link it, that'd be amazing.
and then assassins, I'll send like the rankings to the chat.
So can you just?
I forgot the number.
What's it called? From the-
Yeah, this is like, we'll send it in the Slack. Do we have any wishes to adjourn? A second.
Raise your goddamn flag.
Any opposed?
I'll take the.
Motion clearly passes. Thank you, guys.
What?
Sorry, that was so long.
What do you mean to what?
Cancel Wolf on Wednesday.
And go back.
I'm sorry. No, I already gave you guys off last week. I'm not canceling 2 weeks in a row. Not before the policy summit.